In the dying gold of an Arizona sunset, when the mesas burned like ancient embers and the dust rose in slow spirals from the hooves of weary cattle, the lone rancher Colt Mercer rode toward the ruins of Red Valley, a place spoken of only in whispers by drifters, who swore that spirits and giants still roamed its clay-red gorges. Colt wasn't a man who believed in tall tales. He believed in fences, horses, and the stubborn. Grit it took to keep a ranch alive in the ruthless West. But that evening, as thunderheads gathered like bruises over the sky and the wind carried a faint hum like chanting, Colt felt something watching him, something vast, something ancient. When he reached the abandoned ceremonial grounds, he found signs of movement, massive footprints pressed deep into hardened earth, each print big enough for him to lie down inside. His horse shivered, ears pinned back, but Colt dismounted, following the trail to a cliff bathed in moonrise silver. That was when he heard her. A voice, not soft, not shrill, but resonant, like rolling thunder wrapped in velvet. "Rancher," it called. "Why do you trespass on land claimed by the daughters of the mountains?" Colt steadied his breath and turned slowly, hand lingering near his holster. And there she stood, towering higher than any man, but shaped unmistakably like one. A giant Apache woman, her long obsidian hair flowing like a river of shadows down her shoulders, her copper skin gleaming with war paint in patterns older than the territory itself. Her eyes glowed with a strange mixture of sadness and fury, and in her massive hand she held a spear carved from petrified lightning. Colt had heard legends of the Gahetudi, the Mountain Daughters, giant protectors of Apache ancestral lands. Half myth, half memory, but he never imagined confronting one. "I'm just passing through," he said, clearing his throat. "Don't mean trouble." But she stepped closer, and the ground trembled. "All men mean trouble," she growled. Yet there was something else in her gaze, curiosity, hope, a desperate hunger for something not of flesh, but of spirit. Her people were fading, she explained, dying with the old traditions, swallowed by time and the march of settlers. She had remained to guard their last seed, an ancient Apache relic said to carry the memory of her clan, and it needed a bearer. She eyed Colt with deliberation. "You carry courage," she rumbled. "You carry loneliness. You carry the fire of a wanderer. Plant your seed in me, lone rancher. Not a seed of flesh, but of promise, of oath, of legacy. Help me restore what remains." Colt blinked, tension melting from his muscles as he realized her request was symbolic, not intimate, a plea for him to help protect the sacred lands and carry the story of her people forward. Storm winds whipped around them, and the earth beneath their feet pulsed with the heartbeat of forgotten spirits. In that moment, the rancher understood. His arrival was no accident, but a calling. And when he placed his hand on her massive palm, warm, alive, trembling with centuries of burden, the world around them shifted as if the mountains themselves exhaled, and the beginning of an impossible alliance was born. The next morning broke with a copper dawn, stretching across the valley, and Colt awoke beneath the shelter of a canyon arch, unsure whether the night before had been a dream forged from exhaustion. But the earth still bore the massive footprints, and a faint rhythmic humming echoed across the mesas like a drumbeat calling him deeper into the heart of Apache legend. He followed the sound, each step carrying the weight of a man who'd somehow been chosen by forces far older than his own lifetime, until he found her again, Ahaluna, the last giant daughter of the mountains, kneeling beside a cracked ceremonial stone, etched with symbols that spiraled like rivers across its surface. She was chanting, her voice low and resonant, causing pebbles to vibrate around her feet. When she opened her eyes, their glow had dimmed, as if her strength was leaking into the ritual. She told Colt that the land itself was dying. Settlers had cut deep wounds into sacred grounds. The rivers had shifted, and the old spirits slept restlessly. The relic, the seed, was a carved sphere of quartz, shimmering softly with trapped embers of ancestral memory, and it needed a human guardian to restore it. Colt, though hesitant, felt the weight of destiny closing around him like a warm cloak. Ahaluna guided him through the rites of acceptance, each step a test of courage, wisdom, and heart. They crossed a labyrinth of wind-carved stone where shadows moved like living beings, faced a phantom bison herd whose thunderous charge was more spirit than flesh, and endured a sandstorm that carried whispers of the dead. Through each trial, a Haluna grew weaker, her giant form shimmering like a mirage. When they finally reached the sacred spring at the base of Thunder Ridge, she knelt, offering the relic with hands that shook like mountains trembling. "Plant the seed here," she commanded, her voice barely a wind. Colt placed the quartz sphere into the spring, and as the water swallowed it, the ground erupted with light, ribbons of fire, gold and crimson weaving through the canyon, lighting the names of the lost Apache clans across the rocks. Haluna stood tall one final time, pride gleaming in her eyes. "You have restored us," she whispered. "You are now a storykeeper." Then her body dissolved into dust that shimmered upward, carried on the wind into the mountains she had loved and guarded. Colt remained alone beside the glowing spring, heart pounding with the realization that legends had chosen him not as conqueror or trespasser, but as witness and protector. And when he rode away from Red Valley, the land seemed alive again, humming with the quiet power of rebirth. And he knew that the story of the giant, Apache girl, and the lone rancher would echo through the West for generations to come, carried in the footsteps of every rider seeking meaning in the vast and unforgiving frontier.